G'day YouTube, my name's Lance and welcome to Bundy Bear's Shed. Well, the weather report. Winter has come. Look, it's a bit chilly. It's Sunday morning at 6:30 and yeah, it's a bit cool this morning. Apparently down south there's a bit of a cold front coming through, and I had a mate I was talking to down Nowra yesterday and he reckons bloody cold. And yeah, look, it's not bad here. And look, I haven't had a look this morning, but you know, we're probably around 7 or 8 or something like that degrees C. And the days are around 23 to 25 in there somewhere. So it has cooled down a bit, but that's all right. It's nice, refreshing weather, and because it's nice and dry and not damp or anything like that, I can get some stuff done around the place. So I've been getting stuck into quite a few projects and enjoying it. Yeah, the little gold tractor, we've been up it, and I got the back end out last weekend, which on the FE35 restoration series, there's 5 episodes out there just at the moment, and all week I was getting parts in. I've got new diff bearings and axle bearings and seal kits and look, all manner of parts, front axle pivots and all that. So I've got a lot of parts, so parts shouldn't be holding me up. Up on the bench here, just out of frame, I've got an axle for a customer, so I was doing that yesterday, and I had to put new wheel studs in for him and muck around. So I've still got the bearing cooker and all that stuff on my bench here. So my bench is a bloody mess, but that's all right. It'll come good. While I got the chip cooker out, I'll use the opportunity to put the bearings and all that in the rear axles on Goldie this morning. I probably won't film that. I have video out, or I might film doing one or something. We'll just see, just to make the restoration series complete so there's no gaps, rather than start watching Goldie the restoration series then have to disappear and go and find the axle one to see how it was done. But I got one axle out, or pressed apart last weekend, and then my bloody press shit itself again. And if you remember, perhaps a year ago or so, I got a 50-ton Heron Forbes press, and it wouldn't go onto the second. It wouldn't go into the second stage. So I stripped it down, then cleaned it all out and tidied it up and got it going again. But I got one axle out, and it would only do a maximum of about 5 or 6 tonne. It was just lucky it was an easy axle. Then I went to do the left-hand rear axle, and I drilled the collar and put it in the plate and press it all out. And bugger me, the press wouldn't work at all. and about 5 tonne maybe. And so I had great plans yesterday, racing up the shed and filming a heap of stuff and doing the stew, and I was bloody going to move mountains yesterday. But anyway, this axle come along, so I had to do that, and then I couldn't even press this axle apart with the buggered press. So the day started with pulling the press pump apart, and I've done that. I've pulled it apart and had a look again. Couldn't really see anything wrong. A couple of balls on it looked like they weren't getting any oil. They were quite dry, so I freed everything up and put it back together. And look, I've got about 15 tonne out of it at the moment, but it's still not going onto that second stage like it should on the hand pump, because it should go right up to 50 tonne. It's a 90mm ram, 10,000 pounds per square inch pump, 2-stage, so it should do it. So anyway, I thought this bloody thing giving me the shits. And last week when it was playing up, I couldn't get Goldie's axle out. Then I fixed it enough yesterday to get the customer's axle apart, and I've assembled it. It's all ready to go, all wrapped up in a rag, now ready for the customer to whack some studs in. But by the time I pulled the pump apart and finished pressing my axle apart, then pressing this one apart, because my axle was already in the jig, and then yeah, cleaned up parts and mucked around. Well, yeah, sort of mid-afternoon, and you still haven't done any filming on Goldie or anything like that. So I don't know. I'll have to. Good help's hard to find. No, I'll have to get my finger out. But anyway, I was talking to a friend, and they have a press similar to this, and they were having trouble with their pump. So they bought an air over hydraulic thing off eBay, and yeah, 90 to 130 pounds per square inch air in, and 10,000 psi out, and it's an air over hydraulic with a foot control. So I bought that. I thought, bugger it, I've got to put up with this shit, because I've got 4 more axles to do. I've got 2 19 splines and 2 16 splines. We're going to run through the businesses and exchange, and yeah, just standing there on the pump, pumping away. And I got it yesterday by putting a big extension in the handpiece and trying to work the first stage better, but still not good. And so I may leave the standard pump on it and just put a T-piece in the pipe, so I can use the air over if I want to, or I can do the other. So look, we'll just make our mind up where we go with that. But having a foot control and yeah, you know, being able to hang on or guide something or do something, who knows? I think it's a good idea anyway. So we're doing that. That's a so it'll probably come Tuesday after I've done all my bloody axles. Not to worry though, we'll work her out. And but the gold tractor, yeah, it turned out to be, as if you've been watching the series, it turned out to be a bit more than I was expecting. I was expecting just to slide an axle out and do an axle seal and possibly brakes and pop him back together again. But when we pulled the hip off, well, when we had a look, there was a Welsh plug missing on a brake shaft, so we pulled the hip off to fix that, and the diff bearing was buggered, so we've pulled the diff out and pulled the other side off. So we've just got a bare housing, bare diff housing sitting there. You can see straight through. So part of my exercise this morning is clean that up, finish these Fergie axles. I've got a new little trick. I haven't proven it yet, but as you know, I heat the bearings up in a chip cooker, and I did some research through the week, and I've got a sheet sitting over on my other bench. It's from Timken, and it says about heating bearings up, and it says when you're heating a cone to drop on a shaft like we do with our axles, they say 120 degrees C is the maximum you should do it. So and it gives you a chart. It's on the timken.com website, and it's got a chart where on a 3-inch bearing, which these are the diff bearings would probably be 3 inch, and on a 3-inch bearing, I think it's 90 degrees C, it expands like 1.5 thou. At 100 it does 2, and then at 120 the maximum it goes to about 3.5 thou expansion. But it's saying on the Timken bearing sheet, the sheet on how to heat them up, you probably shouldn't take them over 120 degrees C. So I thought, well, that was interesting. I didn't know how hot my chip cooker here got them. I just knew that if I cranked it right up and let it cycle a couple of times, it'd drop them on, no worries at all. And I've never had any trouble with them. Years ago when I was cooking bearings in a fry pan, you know, the Sunbeam fry pan, I forgot about it one time. You know, went up the front talking to customers and doing that, and I forgot about it, and I come out and I don't know whether the thermostat buggered up or what, but the bearing went blue and I had to trash it. It was junk. And so yesterday, while I was doing the bearings for this axle here, I got me my trusty Banggood temp gun and had a look to see what it does. And the little deep fryer here out of the kitchen, it does about 140, a little bit over 140, almost 150 degrees C. So when you look at Timken's guidelines for a bearing, yeah, it's probably overdoing them a bit, but I've done it like that for quite a while and never had any worries. And at the 140 it probably expands that extra thou, but when you drop the bearings on, they just drop on loose as anything and just crimp in tight. So yeah, I'm not sure whether I want to have a go at 120 or not. Yesterday it was 140, which is, I just followed my normal routine with the bearings and used the thermometer just to see how I was going, because I knew it worked. And but yeah, the bearing was up around 140, not 120 degrees C. So no bearings have ever had trouble from going that extra 20 that I'm aware of. But when we were away last September, we went down to the Fordson rally and in Deniliquin, which is down on the Victoria-New South Wales border, inland a bit from the coast. And coming home, we went to the Henty Field Day, and the missus bought a new wave induction cooker, and they're a little bench mount thing, and she's got one up on the bench all the time, you know. She hardly uses the big stove. She said, this induction heater, you got to make sure you have a steel or iron pan, and you can actually dial in the exact degrees, you know, 100 degrees C, 130, whatever, and quick as anything, and she loves it. So we've got like a nice new glass cooktop stove we put in a while ago, and doesn't use it. She says, oh no, this is a beauty, this thing. So, but the deal was for 290 bucks. You got a little one and a big one, and she uses the little one. She reckons, oh, it doesn't use much room. So I said, well, I might knock the big one off. And she says, what are you up to? I said, look, I reckon that would heat a bearing up. And she said, oh, I suppose. And so anyway, I've got it up the shed here. And she said, when you're finished with it, put it in the caravan. So, you know, we'll have one in the house, one in the caravan. I said, finished with it? I said, I'm never going to be finished with it. I might have it for years. But anyway, I did a test just on the kitchen bench the other evening, and I had an old axle bearing. It was a new bearing that had gone through our flood that time, and it had a bit of a mark on it, and I thought, oh, well, if this buggers up and it starts arcing or shorting or something like that, no harm done. And so I placed it with the cone facing up, with the fattest part of the cone. I should have one here to show you. And on the induction heater, and I didn't know how it was going to go, so I dialed it back to 60 degrees C, because 60 degrees C is, for a lot of people, it's just a little bit hot to be comfortable hanging on to. And so with the cone facing up, a little benchtop induction cooktop, I cranked her up, and what I noticed was, look, it heated it without a worry, but facing that way, I noticed that the needle rollers got hot before the main centre did, and there was a noticeable difference. It got to where you couldn't touch the rollers, but you could still touch the inside, and I thought, oh, well, that's not real flash. So I turned it upside down so the cone was facing down, and worked like a beauty. I couldn't touch it within 15 seconds or something like that. Look, it was bloody quick. And so what I'm going to do is, when I'm doing the crown wheel bearings on Goldie, I'm going to video a separate video. It'll be part of the Goldie restoration, but I'll also do a separate video for those that couldn't be bothered with the tractor part of it. It'll just be on heating the bearings, but you know, there'll be a crossover of content there. And I'm pretty sure that that'll heat that bearing up enough for me to just drop it on the crown wheel carrier. And so I had a look how much you could buy these for. Like, we bought two for $290, a big one and a little one, and you got, the trade show specials, you get this and that and that and that and that with it. So we did that, and but I had a look at Harvey Norman, and well, this one you can have it, I think 900 watt, 1500 watt and 2000 watt. And I had a look at the Harvey Norman website to see how much the induction cooker was the other day, and look, they range from probably 75, 69, $75 up to, you know, I saw one there for $169. So anyway, I'm going to do a bit of a proper test and see if the bearing goes on, and I'm going to actually test it with the Banggood temperature gun and see how it goes. But look, it's looking promising, and so I think it might work. And yeah, we'll see. It's going to cost me a bearing if it doesn't, but I've got a spare bearing, so I can fiddle around with it and try. So that'll be interesting. That won't happen this stew though, but it'll happen within the next few days, hopefully. Pardon me, I had to have a cough. When I had my workshop for quite a few years, you know, we went 20 years just recently, but I haven't had the workshop for a few years now. And a lot of the stuff I found handy I sold with the business, and slowly over time I've been buying it back again. So the other day I was mucking around, doodling around on eBay, and I found this little petrol or gas compression tester. Now I've got an old one that's got the gauge and the probe that you push over the hole, and I always find them a pain in the arse to use because even though you can have a remote starter button, I'll just get up there so it's a good look, and yeah, see, it comes without these now. But it comes with adapters for all your spark plug sizes right up to 18mm, which is the old Fordsons and the old Fords and Model A's and all that sort of thing. And they have the more common 14, I think it's 14 by 1.5 or 1.25, can't remember. And and the advantage of this now is that you can just screw them in and yeah, just hold it. You're not trying to get in somewhere, some dicky angle. So I took the opportunity to buy that, $23 on eBay. Just unreal, eh? I thought, go bloody, I don't expect them to be snap-on quality, but but they'll do the job for sure. And what I often look at in things like that is all those little adapters. If I bought brass and made the little adapters and put the O-rings on, and then got a hose and made a little hose, and in the past I've actually used grease gun hoses, like these flexible hoses here. You can get long ones of them. I've used them on gauges just for testing, because they'll take like a lot of pressure. And then if the gauge buggers up, well, you can replace that later on anyway. But I've looked at it, but just by mucking around making the adapters myself, I don't reckon I could do it for $23 delivered. Not a chance. So so that's something else that's gone back into the shop. And look, it took me 15-20 years to build up all my tools, and well, look, more than that. Last year in March I went 40 years on the spanners, so right from back in 1977 I started buying tools, but then I did sell a lot with the workshop. But another thing I come across at the same place, and I thought, oh well, while I'm there, and, that I had sold with the business was the radiator pressure test kit. And look, they're handy, and like this was only 60 bucks, something like that. I bought the exact same kit back years ago from Bepco, and it was like nearly $200, and I'm sure it's the same kit. And it's got the screw adapters for like the John Deeres with the plastic tanks, and yeah, a lot of cars now have a plastic recovery tank, and so we can test that. And it does your normal old Fergie, Ford, bloody, all that sort of thing. So that's something I hadn't had either for a few years. So we took the opportunity to buy that, and we'll put it up in the shed with our gear. And oh shit, nearly fell off my chair. We'll have to have bloopers for that bit. But I've also been up the shed doing a bit of machining, and some of these pins in the back of the Goldie where your main lift arms come out and then you have your drop arms, well, some of the pins are worn and one's stuck. I've actually got to get the oxy up it. So, but when you buy the pins, pardon me, this is a Spar XS 1640. Look, the pins are right length and everything, but the head's always way too big. It's a big, chunky, shit looking thing. And so when you buy the Bearco ones, their number's B1640. Well, instead of the small hole here, the small hole for the split pin, they have a hole for a linch pin, and it's just too big. It looks bloody terrible. And they have a big taper here. And so I took these up last night, and I machined them down and put the chamfer on and tried to get them to look just the same as the genuine ones, the ones that I'm taking out. So that's done, but that only took a few minutes. I put the 3-jaw chuck on my lathe, which I very rarely have the 3-jaw on, and it's getting a bit notchy. I think I better pull it apart and give it a service. I probably hadn't had a service in, well, I can't remember bloody pulling it apart anyway. So I'd probably do that one cold night. I'll turn the heater on and sit in there and pretend I know what I'm doing. Now, another project. God, I'm bloody busy. Hey, using a bloody dog with 2 bits, bloody. Well, I've got a little bit of machining filming at the end of this stew, and what it was for was this splitting stand I've been flapping my gums about making. It's the stubs for there. I had to machine them down, so as you can see, I've got them all machined down now, and the stand's looking okay. I've got them banged in here. Now the stubs, yeah, I've pressed them in. I've drilled holes through the pipe here, and then just plug welded them, and so they're in there now. I've got a bit of triangle PDO shaft that I've run 3 layers of weld in there for the centre. Can you see the top? Oh, just. And but what we're doing with this PDO shaft part, it's I might actually swing you around to the bench in the mess so I can just show you, and drop you down here a little bit. There you go. And so what the idea is with this is, I think this is about 8 inches tall, and then with the PDO shaft, you know, the PDO shaft has a flat edge on it, and I'll just try and shift this camera so I can see what you're seeing. I can't see my monitor. I could be showing you any bloody thing, eh? Okay, we'll try for that. Now, the idea of this is that these PDO shaft inserts can go in, and I can have different lengths of these, and so this is the lowest one, and then what I finished machining up last night was this piece of threaded rod. Now it's just a piece of coarse 1.25 inch threaded rod that I had here, that I've used in stands in the past, and I actually had one of these pins. Now this is off a stabiliser on a Massey 168, something like that, so I had one of these. I just parted the bottom off and I went to weld it on, and I couldn't keep the bloody thing straight for trying. So I went up the shed, I bored the guts out here, run a 3/4 UNF thread in, shortened this thread a little bit, and pardon me, just tidied it up. So now that goes in there, and the idea is I can either screw adapters in here for different, you know, if I want a special frame for a tractor or something like that, or I can just drop a flat bar on the top, and I should have a little, there we go. And this is a Cat 1 to Cat 2 lower link sleeve. Might be an upper link sleeve, but anyway, it's a Cat 1, Cat 2 sleeve, and I've machined that down, so I'm going to machine quite a few of them, and we can pop them on and then just weld a plate, or a, you know, the first one's just going to be a plate with a bit of soft pine on it so it grabs onto the little tractors. And when I need to change an adapter, I just grab one of these. Like, these cost us nothing at work, and you know, I think we sell them for $2 or $3 each or something. So, but anyway, and they're CAD plated, so what we're going to do is make different adapters. As the need arises, we can just make something. I'm not sure whether I'm going to drill through these yet and put a pin in to stop it all turning. It shouldn't really turn too much. Now, on the top here, I've got a Fergie TE20 kingpin thrust bearing, and that bearing, that'll take the load through here, and then I'll just bang this nut on so I can show you the whole setup. on there. There's another couple of pins. They were lock pins from work. Nothing like having a tractor be bloody placed when you need to nick stuff. And so yeah, so the idea is that we can just raise and lower whichever part of the tractor we need to be on. I've got to tidy up the thread here. It spun in the chuck on me a little bit last night and it's put a slight burr, but and yeah, we'll tighten this down so it doesn't want to muck around, and away we go. So what I mean. So yeah, we have bearings on the stub axles, which I explain in the little bit of video that that we're doing, and the video is just machining these stubs, like I said. And look, that should be a pretty good little stand. We'll see how this one goes. I was thinking of running a support down through here, but you know, these are only little light tractors we're doing. If this concept works, I've bought some more PDO shaft, and with this one here, the next one up, we might make it, say, like in 100mm 4-inch intervals. So the next one up will be 100mm higher and 100mm higher, but we'll still keep them sitting right down low in this part here, and that just has a welded collar on it. So look, that's coming along good. That's going to work well. We're splitting tractors for years, and this will be okay. I don't know if I should put a stabiliser here or not. I'll just make up my mind as I go. It shouldn't be too much side force on this because we have a nice floor. It's a nice smooth concrete floor. So anyway, hang on a sec. I'll bring you back. 3, 2. Okay, back again. Yeah, that stand should be a good thing. I don't think we'll have any trouble with it. And with this piece of threaded bar here, and that 3/4 thread, 3/4 UNF thread, we can put a long linkage pin, you know, a Cat 1 or Cat 2 or Cat 3 linkage pin there if we just want a pin to sit up the back of something and support a drawbar. So we'll see. I might. What the idea is to make a little system here that with the splitting stand that we can use for a couple of things. I may even make another one, you know, have 2 of them, and even have just a flat stand with that PDO shaft in it and a bit of threaded bar. So sometimes when you split a tractor, that they get a bit giggle headed, so you can just put a stand under it. And once I've proven the concept, yeah, we'll go with it. I think it'll be a good thing. So weight loss, I've still been on track, losing a few kilos. Yeah, I've got to face the camera. If I go sideways, you won't be able to see me soon. Yeah, but yeah, look, I've been going. I forgot to tell you last week I'd lost a couple, and yeah, on the stew last week I forgot to mention I was still on track. And look, I'm going good now. Well, still going good. I've been behaving myself, and I'm down to well, what I've started doing too is I used to weigh myself Tuesday after the weekend, and by the time I got to telling you about it in the stew, sometimes that was old news. I'd pulled a few out, or you know, I'd done a little bit more, or lost a little bit more since that Tuesday. So I thought, well, what I'll do, I'll weigh myself Tuesday, then I'll jump on again Friday, and Friday I'll give you a more current update. And I've got to tell you, blokes, just to keep me on track, because if I get off the rails, you know, I'll be in trouble, I reckon. But look, Friday at 6:30, I usually weigh me. I get in, crank the computers up, you know, get that going, go down, put the jug on, take me cuppa down for a cuppa, and on my way back up the stairs up to my office, I sit the cuppa on the bench, go and jump on the scales, and that's what I try and do the same time every day when I do a weighing. But at the moment, last Friday I was 115.4 kilos, so I'm still a big lad, but look, I'm feeling well, got good energy and all that sort of thing. So So that takes me to 28.8 kilos gone, from 144.2 to 115.4. This next week, yeah, I'm hoping if I can go from 115.4 to 114.2, that's 30 kilos gone. And yeah, you try grabbing, say, a 20 litre drum of oil, which is probably 20 kilos, just say. Well, 20 litres of water is 20 kilos. And yeah, 20 in a 10, and cart that round with you all day. No wonder your bloke didn't have much energy sometimes, you felt buggered. So anyway, look, that's on track. I'm still, I'm not battling with anything, cravings or anything like that. I'm just bloody poking along and having me tomato juice for brekkie and me cups of black coffee through the day and a cup of drugs. And that keeps me going. So that's on track as well. So we're going pretty well. The grandkids are here. So yeah, a bit of playing in the shed coming up, I'm hoping. And they like to get on the tractors, and little bloke's learnt to go beep beep when he presses the horn, or presses the centre of the Fergie steering wheel. So not that there's a horn there, but anyway, beep, just saying beep beep helps. But look, that's all. I'm going to tack on just a little bit of turning. I had to make 4 of these stubs here, but I only showed one just for a bit of machining content for you. I think the regulator on my welder's playing up. It's leaking inside, but I noticed when I pull my MIG gas on, yeah, one gauge goes right round, flat out. So that tells me the regulator's not doing the job. And so anyway, I've got a regulator to fix now. So anyway, I'm using everything in the shop. I'm getting a lot done, but I seem to be spending a fair bit on maintenance. A fair bit of time on maintenance. And yesterday morning when I turned the high bay lights on in here, because I get up here when it's dark in winter, and I've blown a bulb on the high bay, so I've got to get up 20 foot, what is it, 4.8, yeah, 16, 17 feet. I've got to get up there and either change the bulb, but I was telling Jude I might, instead of these big 400 watt bulbs we got running here, I might just go and buy an LED one. I see in the buildings at the moment they got the big high bay lights that are LED, and see in Bundy Bear's shed here I've got five of the big high bays, one straight above me here, and yeah, some days I'll have, I usually have, when I'm in the middle of the shop, I have this one here because this is where the grinder and the drill and all that is, and I'll have 2 other ones going. But if I'm over near the hoist, there's one there for if I'm working in the doorway there. So yeah, I've got to convince myself it's worth spending the money on them yet, but LED seems to be the way to go with that stuff. I know at the workshop there, at the new shop, everything's LED and you just flick a switch, and we got LED fluoros and LED everything, and yeah, I'm liking them. It's a nice white light where these are slightly yellower light. So anyway, stay tuned for that. I don't like getting up my big ladder up that high. It bloody wobbles around, and I usually put the ladder up against the frame there, and then I bring the forklift with a pallet up against the bottom of it so it can't slip out, and sneak up that way, make sure I'm nice and true, and then the forklift and the pallet holds it up against the beam and against the iron on the roof, so it's pretty snug in there. But anyway, that's the job I've got to do. But look, that's about all for the stew this week. I better get over with that gold tractor and start cleaning that diff housing out and getting some axles on, and I'm pretty keen to do that induction heater thing. So look, that's it for this week. Thanks for watching. Have a good week, and I'll catch you next week, eh? See yous.